Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
The DC deck building game is an entry-level deck building game based on the DC universe. And really, the title of the game tells you everything. In this one, you're going to be playing a superhero with a unique power. So you can be Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, whatever. And each have a unique power. And you'll be buying items from the middle of the deck in order to kind of strengthen yourself up, strengthen up your deck. Sometimes there are locations that will stay out in front of you. And then you're trying to beat a deck of villains. And that's what you're trying to do, is score little victory points on the bottom of the cards. Normally, by beating the supervillains, you'll be able to score more of those points. And that's kind of the trigger for the game. So that's kind of where your focus will be on. But you kind of need to build up yourself first. Now, first of all, it's an entry-level deck building game. It plays a lot like Ascension or something like that. Heavily barred. And this one you've seen with a lot of different IPs. So it's not very thematic. So let's talk about the theme a little bit. It's been driven into the ground before, so let me say it again. The theme doesn't really fit. So you're Superman, but you're driving the Batmobile. And that's just the way it is. You'd be Wonder Woman and using Aquaman's equipment. So I don't know how you kind of pull that in. Maybe Aquaman's come in and help you fight a fight or something. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but that is the aspect of the theme. So it doesn't work really that well. But, you know, a lot of the cards have the villains and super villains. There's expansions for this and things you can kind of pull in. And this will be the base set of what you're going to get. Very good if you want to start out with somebody with deck building and they happen to be a DC fan. This will work excellently for them. I think at some point you want to move on to something, a deck building game a little bit more. And this one does have a little bit more, some of the expansions and stuff that you can pull in. And I think it works in that aspect. But for the most part, easy to teach. Just really one currency, which is the power. And that kind of works for it and against it at some point. The theme doesn't make a whole lot of sense, although you can squint and you'll get through it. And this game does have its fans. For me, it's a mediocre deck builder. It's probably a 5 or a 6 on the BGG scale. I don't think it's the best game ever. It's not the worst game ever. For an entry-level deck builder, I think this is going to blow away a lot of the competition. The more you're going to like this, the more of a DC fan you are. There's a Lord of the Rings version. I think there's a Street Fighter version. There's a whole bunch. I mean, they released basically the same game in a whole bunch of different themes. So pick the IP you like best and enjoy the game. For me, it's going to be a Purge. I'm more of a Marvel Legendary kind of guy, so I do my deck building superhero thing. I'll go over into that direction. And I didn't need both of them. So this one got the short end of the stick. DC deck builder, it's been nice knowing you, but you're a Purge. Here's a DC deck building game. You look inside, you can see the heroes that you can play on the front: Cyborg, Green Lantern, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and The Flash. And you're going to get inside, you're going to get a rule book, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. And you're going to have a pretty darn good insert, believe it or not. This is really hard to get in because it's not thick enough. Like, there is a finger loop here, but there's not enough cards in there. And it tells you supervillains here, weaknesses, kick, vulnerability, punch, and then your main deck, which is really nice. The only complaint I have is getting in here to these guys. I actually have to flip it upside down. Let's take a look at some of the pictures. I don't know if these is original artwork or not, but it is of good variability. You can see it will repeat cards sometimes. There's a kick that got mixed in there. But for the most part, you have villains that will be in this deck, etc. Not too bad. And each of the characters will have a different power, which I'll show you. And you're going to have a bunch of starter cards that will definitely repeat. But that's for ease of play, so I don't really mind like that. The punch cards are all the same. They're Batman. Their vulnerability are going to be Superman on this one. I guess he's getting hit by kryptonite. The kick will be Batman. They like to go to Batman a lot. You're going to have your weakness cards, which are gross, which are disgusting. It's Joker's mouth. It's just nasty. And then you're going to have your supervillain cards, the guys you're trying to beat in the game. And as you can see, in order for me to get this out, I got to dip it over. It's the only way I can do it. You're going to have the Green Lantern, Cyborg, Aquaman, Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, and Superman. So they got a lot of the big ones in this one. If you're going to get one set, I mean, most people are going to know this set. This is kind of the set to get, I would assume, because, I mean, unless you just have a favorite, like Teen Titans is your favorite or something. This has most of the heavy hitters right here in it. So this is one of those rule books you're either going to love or you're going to hate. There is a Learn to Play video link on the front, and they've kind of used this over and over. So they brought this game out, and they brought out a ton of different themes with pretty much the same game, maybe a wrinkle or something different, and the rule books have been the same. So you're going to have setup for your first game with pictures. You can see all the little cards that you're going to have here, which is really great. The main deck, the supervillain deck. Flip it over here to kind of show you the lineup. I like how this is all. So this is all just set up step by step. Then you get a wall of text on how to play. There's some pictures here, of course, not a lot of examples, but end of the game. Everything you need to know is right here. It's pretty simple to play. Any additional rules, attacks, defenses, weakness, how everything kind of works in there. They kind of break it down. So picture the shading that's going on here. There's some examples over here. I like that quite a bit. New gamers coming straight from Monopoly or something, which is really what this is intended for. And they may have trouble with this. A variant here. 2 heads are better than 1. There's a team game. They really know how to play the game, so the variants are in there. Some specific cards, facts, if you will, that will be in here. Overall, I think if you start reading this, you'll be up and running. Now, if you're a gamer, this is easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's nothing difficult. You'll get through this in 10 minutes max. But for those coming straight from Monopoly, which you're probably not watching this video, a little bit of a learning curve for it. So each player is going to pick which character they want. Each character is going to have a different power at the bottom. For example, Superman, +1 power for each different superpower you play. Cyborg, if you play one or more superpowers in your turn, +1 power if you have one or more equipment during your turn, draw a card. So I'm going to take Superman just because he's easy to earn and play. Everybody's going to take 7 punches and 3 of the vulnerability. And that's going to be their starting hand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. You'll shuffle these cards up. That will be your starting deck. You'll draw 5 off the top. And this will be your starting hand that you'll have as you're playing. You're going to have your main deck here. And you're going to take 5 cards out, which will become the lineup. And these cards can be all different things. Heroes or superpowers or equipment that will come out that you'll be able to utilize as you're playing the game. Let me get something that's not a double. Okay, so something like this. Let me put a villain out because it's just something a little bit different. I can show you how everything works. So you got your hand of 5 cards that we've already drawn. And these vulnerability cards don't do anything. So you can just kind of put them aside. But each of these cards will have a power on them and a victory point at the bottom. So these starter cards are worth no victory points. They give you 1 power each. And I have 3 of them. So what I can do is I can purchase or beat up or whatever anything here with the 3. So the Green Arrow and the Gorilla Groot I can't beat. But I could beat any of these. So let's just say, for argument's sake, I'm going to take Superpower because it works well with Superman. So this will give me 1 victory point in the game. It cost me 3 power, which I had. And this will go in my discard pile with the cards that I spent to purchase it. And then I would take my deck of cards and draw 5 more. And the next player will go. And a card will come out to replace that card. When it comes back to my next turn, I have what's in my hand, which is 4 power and 1 starter card, which is worth nothing. So now I have 4. I can buy anything 4 more. There's not. So maybe I'll buy High-Tech Hero. Now, I'm getting high-tech from Cyborg. I'm Superman. Yes, the theme doesn't really work. It is what it is. But it says if you ever played a superpower equipment this turn, +3. Otherwise, +1. It's worth 1 victory point. I don't get to use it now. I would spend my 3, put that in my discard pile. I have 1 left over. There's nothing there worth 1, so this does nothing for me. And now what I would do is since I don't have any cards left, I've used all my cards and everything's in my discard pile, I'd shuffle these up and I would draw 5 new cards. Now, as you can see, I've drawn one of my new cards I have. So now I have this available power on my turn. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4 for these cards' power, and each foe reveals the top card of his deck. You may play one of the non-location cards revealed this turn, then return it. But because I have a superpower, my characters are going to be an extra power. So I'm a 5 power plus this X-ray vision to be able to do. Now for 5 power, I can play anything 5. So I could beat this villain. If I beat the villain, he goes into my deck, and I would have +3 power when he's drawn. Location's a little different. They go in my deck, but when drawn, they go face up in front of me until they would be defeated or something like that. So how does the game end? So what's going to be happening is you have these deck of villain cards. And there's going to be a setup to them. You have a number of them. They'll be face down, and there'll be 1 face up that you're trying to beat at any given time. These work like any other villain, except for anybody can beat them. You have to have so much power to beat them. They're worth a number of victory points, and they give you powers, and they go in your deck. And these are what they call the super villains, and you have to beat these in order to win the game. That's pretty much what's happening. These will be set aside. They will not go in the lineup. They'll just be kind of set aside, and you'll be fighting down as you defeat these guys, the main bad guys. And that's kind of how you play. So you continue until the number of cards you put into this deck is defeated. And then whoever has the most victory points, you count up the stars at the bottom of all cards that you have. Whoever has the most victory points is the winner of the game. Who should buy this game? Really, if you're looking for an entry-level deck builder and you like the DC Universe, really, that's where this one cosmically goes. Now, as for entry-level deck builders, this is one of the best ones. I really like it quite a bit. If you want to dabble into the Lord of the Rings or some other IP, Street Fighter one, I think it's the one of this set I'm going to keep because it's unique. You don't see a lot of Street Fighter games. It works pretty much the same as this game. And it doesn't have all the expansions. I can just get one box, and it gives me that kind of experience that I would like. And I don't have a lot of Street Fighter games. I do have a lot of DC games. You're starting to see a lot more of those. So for me, this was a purge. It's not what I needed in my collection. I would just go somewhere else. So, that's how it works sometimes.